Good evening, it's Rena Annabel here. Thank you for tuning in. Right, I did promise you literature, didn't I? And this show is where we celebrate new talent. So I'm really excited to speak to 10-year-old Joe Rajapaksa from Oxford. I was getting it wrong, saying 9, but he recently turned 10. So he is a published author and has written not 1, but 2 books. And Joe is in the studio right now with me with his mum. Welcome to the studio, Joe.
Good evening, Rena. It's lovely to be here.
Oh, so Joe, tell me about your first book. I've got both of them here. So there's A Changing World, which is the first one. So just tell me a little bit about that.
So The Changing World is basically a story about climate change. So I basically write down a story about climate change and then children can understand it. And then all the money that I raise from it, I donate the profits to a wildlife sanctuary in Kenya called the Lewa Wildlife Conservancy, who stop poachers, take care of other animals that have been victims to poaching, and they do lots of work, and I decided I wanted to donate the profits.
I mean, I've got your books here, and they're beautiful books, and they've got so much information in them. I mean, there's a story and then the info as well. Did you have to do a lot of research for this?
Well, you see, the way I do things, the way I do like my YouTube channel and everything, I usually have most of the research, so I just wrote down most of the ideas that I have. It's basically just a summary of climate change.
So is this something that you've always been interested in then, the world?
Yes.
and how it's changing?
Yes. So this all started when I was 4 years old. So I was at nursery during that time. I used to come home. I used to go and watch one of Sir David Attenborough's programs. I used to go on the television. He was my inspiration. He's the one who got me to do everything I do today.
Do you know what, Joe? I thought of David Attenborough when I watched your videos on YouTube and the way that you were talking, and I feel like how passionate you are. I thought to myself, I bet David Attenborough somewhere along the line has inspired you. I really love him as well. I think he's absolutely amazing and inspirational. Joe, how did you fit in the writing and making these informative videos with school and just being a kid as well?
Well, you see, this actually all started when I was 6 in 2020 during lockdown. So usually I used to go to school and I go like, hey guys, listen to this. And then I usually say my facts out. But this time I was at home. So I decided instead of going somewhere, I should share my videos online, share all my information. And that's how I started the YouTube channel.
I mean, excellent idea, because look how it's turned into a book, which is absolutely fabulous. And so your second book, Bee, all about the bees. Just tell me a little bit about that. Like, what made you want to write that?
So I raise funds for the Oxford Health charity Green Space Appeal. So they basically turn green spaces that the NHS have, the spaces that they have, into green spaces, which aren't just good for the environment. Obviously they are, but they're actually really helpful in curing patients and the hard-working NHS staff. Just think about it, how hard they work. They need a little break. They can go there. It's really calming.
In this book, you have got loads of facts, and including how to make a bee hotel, which looks like a really good idea, and I think I might do it myself because I love watching bees. I think they're fascinating. I normally just watch them in the neighbour's garden, which is a bit weird because obviously the neighbours might think I'm a bit strange. But have you made this yourself? Does it work?
Yeah, I've tried doing it. It's actually quite a good way of doing it. In fact, bees are actually really important for the planet, and that's the main thing I talk about in that book. So, like, what is a bee? The impacts that they have to the planet, the impacts that they face from humans, how important they are, and what we can do to help them.
Okay, so you dedicated this book about the bees to your grandpa who lives in Sri Lanka. So how has he inspired you?
Well, you see, he grows lots of plants, and he works really hard in Sri Lanka to tell people about climate change. He doesn't use pesticides. He's a farmer, and he works really hard to farm food, make a living, and also take care of the planet.
So you just told me before we sat down and started this interview what you did for your 10th birthday, which I think is a really lovely idea. So could you just share what you did? It wasn't the usual cake and balloons.
No, it wasn't. So this actually started when I turned 8. So I donate money to it's an orphanage in Sri Lanka with disabled children. This year I decided to do something a bit different. I donated to a cancer hospital in Sri Lanka so that they can buy milk powder and things like that for the children. And I also decided to take my cake to the Buddhist temple in Hemel Hempstead that we usually go to.
That is so lovely. I think that people could learn a thing or two from you, Joe, definitely. So, Joe, your mum, Nadi, is here. Nadi, I know you don't want to be asked many questions, but I'm just going to ask you, how do you feel about Joe writing these books? And did you push him at all, or was it completely his idea?
First of all, I want to say that we are extremely proud of him. No, we haven't pushed him to any side. Like, it's entirely his efforts, his a passion. He's the one who fell in love with Sir David Attenborough's programs and etc. As a family, we love nature, of course, yes. That is something we all passionate about. And nowadays people talk about climate change, net zero. You know, it's a big debate, and not many people agree with all these ideas. But this is something he came up with. So, and then one day he walked to me and said, like, Mummy, I wish I have money to donate to Weleva Wildlife Conservancy in Kenya. Then I told him, like, why don't you find a way to do so? So he came up with this idea of writing a book, and then we published it. We managed, I mean, it took very long time for us to get done the whole process. But it's at the end, it's worth something really useful at the end. So we have raised so far £300 selling I don't know how many copies, but yes.
I think it's amazing, and like you said, you're super proud of him. We're proud of you, Joe. I just want to say thank you so much for actually writing these books and giving back so much to the local community and wildlife as well. So where can people buy your books?
So if you go onto Amazon, you can search up The Changing World, and then it'll come up with my book. And it might also come up with my second book, but don't worry if you don't find that. You can just go into The Changing World, have a look at that, and you might see the Be Friendly book. Otherwise, just go back and search Be Friendly.
Lovely. Joe and Mom Nadi as well, thank you so much for coming along, and it's been absolutely lovely having you. And I just want to say best of luck for the future. I've got a feeling that we're going to be seeing and hearing a lot more from you, Joe. Thank you.
Thank you very much.